So I'm on the side of this country road in rural Sicily with two friends, and we're about 2 miles from where we want to go, and we're deciding if we should hitchhike or not. So we had planned this trip out, and what we didn't see on Google Maps was that the road we wanted to take and actually walk was like shrinks down to one lane, and there's no shoulder, and there's just these like hairpin blind turns going up the mountainside. So it obviously wasn't safe to walk, and we decide maybe it would actually be safer if we hitchhike instead. So we're off on the side of the road, we're discussing our options, and what we want to do is we want to go to this nature preserve. There's this hike we want to do, and it's like this gorge with really steep, like a really steep canyon, and at the bottom there's this really beautiful, shockingly blue river. So we want to go there, and it's me and my two friends. We're all in our early 20s. We're in a foreign country. We don't speak the language, but we decide to hitchhike because what could go wrong? So the first car comes down the road. It gets closer to us, we put our thumbs out, and I start to get butterflies in my stomach, and it just drives past us without stopping. So then there's a second car, and again, it drives closer to us, we put our thumbs out, and it just drives right past. A third car comes, and it's this really small, like teal blue Fiat. It's 2/3 the size of the smallest car I've ever seen in the US, just really tiny, like a tin can. And it comes closer to us, it slows down, and it stops. And this really exuberant Italian man jumps out, and he's motioning us into the backseat of the car. He's speaking Italian. We don't understand what he's saying, but we understand. We get in, and we're on top of each other because the car is that small. And in the passenger seat, there's this Italian grandmother, tiny, white hair. We're going up the switchbacks. The driver is smoking out the driver's side window, and somehow he's talking, gesturing, smoking, driving, all at the same time. And all of a sudden, on the left-hand side of the car, it just drops off, and there's this landscape, and it's this green, lush valley. There's these tiny farms and these really ancient stone houses that we can see. And the driver's explaining it all to us in Italian about the landscape and the history, and my eyes are glued to his face in the rearview mirror because I'm trying to understand what he's saying. And my friends and I are whispering in the back, conferring. We all speak Spanish, so we can kind of understand what he's saying, but not all the way. And then we pull into this neighborhood. So we stop in front of this house, and there's this long handwritten letter on the gate of the house. And this woman comes out, and she's weeping. And the grandmother gets out of the car, and they hug, and they just hold each other for a long time. And then the driver turned around, and he was speaking Italian, but I understood exactly what he said. And he said, "Last week on Sunday, my dad died." So we obviously couldn't we couldn't respond to that, but we tried, and he knew that we understood what he was saying. And we ended up getting to go on our hike that day. We got to go to the nature preserve. There were other adventures that we had, but what I remember most was the man and the woman, and the fact that they went out of their way to be kind to us when they were in the midst of something that was obviously really difficult for them. I don't think they knew how much that meant to us at the time, but I think that it's hard to know how something small can mean a lot to someone else. Thank you.